Hello and welcome to the BetterU podcast, where we go in depth and get to listen to stories of hope, strength, and courage straight from some of the leading health, fitness, and wellness experts who help transform lives one person at a time. I am your host, RKaye, and today we take a little rest from having guests on our show and we take a look back at the past few episodes. And to me, it has been quite a whirlwind of interviews with these different coaches that we've had on the show. And it's just amazing to see just how unique and diverse this group of people are. A good amount of people, when you say fitness or health or getting better, having transformations, a lot of us look into the priority or the main component that many would always assume it to be, which is the physical changes. And through the years growing up in the industry and learning more about, how it really works, a lot of people really do stick with that ideal. And being able to speak with these different experts in their own fields of expertise or specializations, we get to encounter that it really is not just the physical changes that we should be looking into. There are a lot more aspects to when it comes to self-care. And that, to me, is really one of the main components why a good number of people really look into themselves and tell themselves and ask themselves, what do I really need to do to make my life a bit better, or to make my lifestyle a lot more bearable? A lot of us get through that point in our lives where we have certain troubles and obstacles that come in our life. We get stressed, our health fades, and it's unfortunate that we have to reach those certain points in our lives before we do take the opportunity and really tell ourselves that, hey, it looks like I need to change. And for the past few episodes, that is one of the main turning points with a lot of our guests. A lot of them really had experiences in their own lives, which basically lets you know that every expert began their journey from zero. A lot of them, as we would say, from zero to hero. And it's amazing how a good number of people in the industry have taken that bold action, taken that step forward, became courageous enough to say that I am experiencing these issues, I am experiencing these problems, I want to resolve it. And after they resolve it, they become really so passionate about that particular solution that they just really want to share it with everybody else who they know for a fact that these people would also have the same relatable issues that they do have. And to me, that in itself is such a big improvement and a big development in the industry. No more are we just looking into coaches who help us build muscle, who help us become flexible. We also look into coaches that really get us to look at ourselves through our mindset, through our emotions, how we are feeling in everyday life. And that is one of the many things that really affects us physically. Many of the coaches that we got to talk with have had those experiences as well. They too have had their own share of stressors in their lives. And that was a crucial turning point for them to say that I have to make sure that I take care of myself. And that also is a very big factor when it comes to self-care. Many of us these days tend to push aside our own health. And that is the main reason why a lot of us coaches out there are doing our best to really reach out to everyone and make sure that people get a lot more aware that self-care is something that we should always prioritize. I myself included have had my own fair share of, pushing everything else aside and focusing on myself. Sometimes when you get to that point, you feel a little guilty, like I should maybe prioritize, work, taking care of my family, taking care of my loved ones, and making sure that your top priority, sometimes it's a little, off what is normal that we think. We live in a society where everybody is so busy. We pride ourselves in being busy. We pride ourselves in being so stressed, which to me is a little weird, right? But in essence, I myself am guilty of that. I think that, a day without being stressed is kind of like a little lacking. But the truth is that we should really look into taking care of ourselves more, making sure that we are the priority, because a good amount of time when we do that, everything else really falls into place. And we do get to see that idea also shared by our previous guests. A big amount of time is them sharing with us that when it comes to taking care of yourself, when it comes to prioritizing your health, your self-care, everything else just seems to fall into place. And I do agree with that ideal, because as I always share, you can never really make it through the day when your own cup is empty. And it's pretty much like as simple as imagining a car that doesn't have fuel in it. How do you expect it to run as smoothly as it can, right? So it's the same for us. If we are so stressed, if we are so tired, and there is nothing else we can give, how do we expect ourselves to really take care of others, to really take care of other things that are on our plates? We tend to be very proud. We tend to be very committed to other aspects in our lives. But when it comes to commitment to ourselves, taking care of ourselves, why is it that it's such a taboo? Why is it something that people make us feel guilty about? So that's something that we really should tend to look into, and something that we really should think more about. Why is it that people just tend to brush off that part of living? It's part of our lives. What we feel, what we think, how our bodies are working currently, those are all part of our life. Those are all part of our lifestyle. And if we are not at 100%, it affects everything else that surrounds us. It affects everything else that we want to deal with. Now, another important thing that I love about having talked with all of our past guests is the fact that these people are all coaches. They're all in the health and fitness and wellness spectrum of coaching. But you get to see that not any one or two of them are exactly the same type of coach. You may say that some of them, or a good amount of them, are like mindset coaches or life coaches or fitness coaches, but in entirety, not one of them, or there is no duplicate coach kind of deal. So we take a look at it, and it really is quite amazing to see that the amount of specific troubles and specific issues that we get to deal with. There are coaches out there that can help us. And to me, that is a really good sign, because if you're someone starting out or someone wanting to kind of get back on track, there are a lot of people that you can reach out to. You shouldn't really be afraid. You shouldn't think that, oh, I'm feeling this and I think no one can help me. That's not true. That's one of the beauties of a lot of the coaches that are out there today. A good amount of them you can see immediately when you search for them online. You have certain issues with your health, certain troubles that you would like to be resolved. You can easily search those on the internet, and you can get to see just how many people out there are so passionate enough to help other people out there just like you. So, you shouldn't really be afraid. Do the research. Make sure that you are really in the right headspace. You really know your why, the reason behind why you want the transformation. And there are so many coaches out there, literally, who can help you out with your trouble. So you shouldn't really be hopeless when it comes to really ensuring that the troubles that you face or the obstacles that you face cannot be taken care of or resolved, because there are just literally so many coaches out there that can help. All you really need to do is make sure that you look into it and that you are open to the idea of getting the help that you deserve. Now, another thing that we could take from the previous episodes that we've had on the podcast is the fact that the industry has really grown through the years. And it is really about time that many of us consider making sure that we get the change that we want in our lives. We should really accept the fact and welcome the fact that it really is part of life. Many of us think that life is just all about studying and working and having a family, and that's pretty much it. But the truth of the matter is, a good amount of time is also taking care of ourselves. And the sooner that we think about that, the sooner it will be for us to also ensure that everyone else around us is taken care of. On a personal note, I've seen many people through the years who have, grown old and have had regrets in their lives, because at the end of, or not even pushing towards the end of their years of their prime, they already get to experience many health hazards. And, it's a sad truth. And to me, as a trainer, that's one of the reasons why I am really passionate about helping others and making sure that the littlest habits that we get to change, those will really, come up and sum up into something that will help you out through your journey. It's not a question of making such big, bold steps to change. It's always the littlest wins, the littlest steps along the way that will help you into a lifelong result, a long-lasting result that you want. These days we tend to look into more shorter term transformations, and those are ones that do have a lot of success. That's a fact. You get into a 10-day program, a 12-day program, a 30-day program. Those will work for sure, because a factor that is included in those challenges, in those boot camps, those are number one, consistency, and number two, the motivation. And those two things, when you have it, your journey or your transformation will be successful. And people tend to look into such a shorter period of time, which to me is, a good starter. But in the long run, again, we go back to the why. Why are you mainly wanting the transformation? And to me, we should all look more into the why of looking further into our future and making sure that, we grow old, see our kids have kids, and we grow old without having to ask help from other people. And we grow old to not have to pay for medication at least, right? So these to me are some of the ideas that have truly been inspirational and have truly helped making a really great point when it comes to our past episodes on the podcast. And there are so many really amazing lessons that our guests have been able to share with us. And I hope that you guys get to look back as well after watching this today, and to see and go back through all the different lessons, all the different aha moments from the past episodes. And yeah, that's pretty much what I know that people will really have a lot more interest of, in terms of really getting into the stories of these different coaches, the inspiration that they have, their own journeys, their own experiences. These are things of reality. And that to me is something that we can all relate to. We can all say that, hey, if they did it, I can too. And the truth of the matter is, transformations also look into that aspect. Again, it's not just the physical changes, it's also changing our mind, changing our emotions, and everything else in between. So, guys, thank you for watching today. Thank you for joining me, even if it's just me. We will resume our guests on the show starting next week. And I hope that the show, the BetterU podcast, really has helped you out in some way to make your journey, your chance of transformation to be a lot more enlightening. These people, these guests that we have, are just really prime examples of ensuring that when you take massive action, when you really tell yourself that this is my why and this is why I want change in my life, then you'll really have the success that you want. All right, guys, so that is it for our show today. Thank you so much for joining me. today's BetterU podcast. We resume next week with our guests. I am your host, RKaye, and always reminding you to never give up on your movement journey because it's never too late to move. Bye, guys.